My name is Francesca Altamura, and I'm a New York-based curator and organizer in conversation with London-based artist Corie McGowan, who is participating in Control the Virus Volume 3, a year-long digital exhibition curated by Martin Mayorga and Vanessa Morel, founders of Dad Eagle Art, and Zaiba Jabbar, founder and artist of Her Visions. Thanks for hopping on with me. Basically, where I want to start is with you describing the origins of your work for Control the Virus Volume 3, which is Blue Light Symphony, which you made this year. Yeah, can you just give us a brief overview of what viewers will be seeing, participating in for the platform?
Hi, thank you for interviewing me, and I'll talk a little bit about Blue Light Symphony. So basically this is a moving image work. It's structured around a song that reimagines how a virus can be recoded to potentially overcome oppression and anxiety. And I wrote it while I was in lockdown, so it's kind of like the lockdown anxiety was coming through while I was writing it. The song is in 3 parts, and through like speculative fiction, the song invites the viewer into a kind of like wet, poetic and lyrical spell, and the spell itself aims to eradicate capitalism, and it's a proposed solution to like the uncertain times that we are currently living in. A solution to ecological crisis, austerity measures tightening, and biologically restricted regimes.
Oh my God, yeah, that's much needed. Hopefully your spell works. Can you talk a little bit about the title? Because I think it was only towards the second or third time that I even watched the work that I was realizing it was symphony, not symphony. So you have this sort of play on words, this poetic twist. Can you explain a little bit about that intention?
Yeah, so it is spelled wrong intentionally. So it was, first of all, it was because it was going to be like symphony as in like spell, as in like a symphony, a song. And I changed it so that it has the word synth in it because I was working with a synth to produce the music for the song. Then the words blue light also come from like how blue light is actually antibacterial. And I was very interested in like pseudoscience in my previous work, which was this project called Silicare. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was about this blue mask that if you buy, you're like protected, and it was a whole like pseudoscience fake advert, which this kind of stems from.
Let's move towards the sort of pragmatic elements that went into making the work. Can you explain sort of how, producing the work during the pandemic sort of affected the nature of it? I know we touched a little bit on this in our previous conversation, which was really interesting to learn about.
Yeah, so the film itself, as I was saying, was written during the lockdown in the UK. And there's a lot of references in it to things that took place during the pandemic. And I was involved with political organising for most of the lockdown. I was also furloughed, so I had like enough time to do so. And I felt like the eras of our capitalist government that we're living in were blatantly exposed during the pandemic, and also working class communities were like disproportionately affected by the poor handling of the whole situation in the UK. I'm probably abroad as well. So I found myself volunteering for an organisation where I was campaigning for solidarity around healthcare and patent-free access to vaccines on an international level. And the pandemic for myself and many others, it just felt like it was confirming the dangers of living in a profit-focused society, whether it be climate change or coronavirus or unsafe workplaces. It confirmed and exposed what was really happening. And we lived in a year where we were feeling more fragile and vulnerable than usual. And I think also being hyper aware of the body was something that came into the song in terms of its lyrics. So like, because we're very aware of the virus and our health. In terms of the production, I felt like it was necessary and safe to carry a lot of the work out myself. So I didn't really work with many people because I started it in a lockdown, and I wasn't entirely able to work with performers until it started to open up again.
Wow, yeah, I feel like we were very aligned in our lives, you know, you being over there in London and myself being in New York. We were both furloughed. I was actually even laid off. And so, you know, we were able to dedicate a lot of our times towards political organizing, and also, yeah, totally feeling this sort of isolation, and, but also a reclaiming of, you know, what we wanted to prioritize in our life. I would say, you know, you in making this work sort of for yourself and you know, with mainly yourself as the main resource. Yeah, so I really love to hear that the work has, you know, very rigorous political undertones to it. You also relayed to me in one of our previous conversations that you were very interested in theory. I have the theories exactly written out: hydrofeminism, or On Becoming a Body of Water by Astrid Neimanis, and Glitch Feminism by Legacy Russell. Are you able to elaborate on why you're so influenced by these texts, especially when making this work for Control the Virus?
Yeah, definitely. So this also thinking about like how we're connected this year through the awareness of the pandemic, but also how we're connected on screens. This also feeds into that, what you were saying, because we were isolated in some sense, but we were also like hyper aware of how we're connected through suddenly how we're so conscious about the virus going around, and how it kind of connected us somehow through whether it be like bodily fluids or air transmission. In some way, you can relate this kind of connection to the idea of hydrocommons in Bodies of Water by Astrid Neimanis. Sorry, I think we might have to fix that. Can I say that sentence again?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Maybe I'll start. Okay, yeah. I ended up relating this to the idea around hydrocommons in Bodies of Water by Astrid Neimanis. I kind of reimagined how joining forces through these common grounds, such as a virus, could be reprogrammed to go against the top 1%, but at the same time feeling like we're vulnerable and fragile, having to go to work and be exposed to the virus, especially if you were a frontline worker, or if you were working in an art gallery, which is where I work now. Whereas many people who were fortunate enough to work from home were safe. But hydrofeminism is a kind of a speculative theory which kind of questions the idea of what is becoming a body of water. And it focuses on the relationship between water to suggest that it's a common ground for its transmission. So like, for example, it talks about how we expel waters that are released into the sea and consumed by other people. And I actually have a quote from the book that I was wondering if I could read, if that's okay.
Yeah, please go for it.
Okay. Blood, bile, intercellular fluid, a small ocean swallowed, a wet, a wild wetland in our gut, rivulets forsaken, making their way from our insides to out. From watery womb to watery world, we are bodies of water. So I quite like that opening quote in the book. It was all about like how we're at the site of becoming something. We're at our bodies leak and sieve, and they're vulnerable to rupture and renegotiate. And it was about how our bodies are also sustained by water. So it's quite abstract, and that kind of fed into the poetics in the script. In terms of glitch feminism, I've also been thinking about how gender is a carefully constructed economic performance as much as it is a social cultural one, which I was reading about in Legacy Russell's book, Glitch Feminism. I was kind of thinking about the performance of femininity as a ritual, as labor, the production of gender, where gender is a product in the gleam of capitalism. And also she talks about how a computer virus can be recoded to degrade productivity and cost capitalism money. So Legacy Russell, I was very interested in how she talks about how a virus could be utilized as a weapon against the imperial body, because it works against function. So, no, it works against function and corrupts data, triggering machines and crashing into a frenzy of uselessness. I was really interested in how she talks about viruses for this project.
Are you able to speak to the relationship between the merch you produce and are offering through the digital platform and the work itself? What is the connection there?
So the film features props that were commissioned for the project, which are clear platinum silicone masks, and they exist in the film as a form of protection. And these silicone masks are also available to purchase through the website as merch. But because they are made out of silicone, the additions will have a jasminite head, which will keep them in shape. So it's a series of hand-poured jasminite heads, and they have a layer of silicone poured on top of it.
Those are going to be badass. I'm sure it'd be crazy to wear them as like, are they in lieu of a surgical or N95 mask, or could they be sort of a cool addition?
Yeah, you can't breathe through them, so they have to have holes. But there might be a way of designing it so that you can wear them as a protective mask in the pandemic. But also they are like they're taken from a 3D scan of the performer's face. So there is potentially going to be an option to have like a mask that's fitted exactly to your face, but you'd need to have your face 3D scanned in order for it to be produced.
That sounds very cool. Well, thank you so much, Corie, for speaking with me. I don't know if you want to share your thanks to the founders of Dad Eagle and her visions, but yeah, it was a total pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for interviewing me, and also thank you to Vanessa, Martin, and Zyba for organizing this. And also I'd like to thank the performers who took part in my film, Carry-On Jalalipour, Sal McDonald, and Sev Faith. Also to Alan Struthers, who helped with the sound production.
Yay, thank you all.